Well, it's always that somebody suggests, what if it's not like that? Or how about making, or how shall we work together on this? Or, have I ever just gone into the studio and thought I really have to make this one? Even like take me to the river and wash me in the water. They had a reason.
Yeah.
For... I'll get the book.
Do you ever start from an ingredient or a smell?
Yes.
Or do you always start from well, okay, you just answered. I won't pose the question.
No, there's definitely one where I'm going to get my book. There was one where I said to myself, "That is so marvellous. I have to construct a fragrance around it." But might have been Mandora. I've just got a feel around that. What else?
Is that a method that works for you?
Yes. We've started, haven't we?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That sounds like a kind of question that you might ask if you were filming. I found this. Last week when we were talking about the beginning of the company.
Yeah.
So this week we're talking about the 10 years of the company, but in perfumes instead of in obstacles to overcome.
Yeah.
So I said that I got this one called Sarah 1, which was like, this one's, that one's far away, that one's far. But it was on my desk.
Oh.
It was there after, it was there all the time. So, fragrance number 1, actually called Not At All Egocentric, Sarah 1. Because I just was, like I was saying, I wanted to make it just for me.
Yeah.
And when I bought some bottles, they turned up with nail varnish brushes in. So
you just brush the perfume on.
Yeah, that's how I used to apply it. So that's how they're described in this book. Is that small blue bottles with brushes.
Yeah.
So this is 11 years old.
That is well and truly macerated.
Yeah. And so what was happening was I was still teaching people to write. I used to stay in this, I don't know, there's a hotel in Coventry I used to stay in a lot. And the woman at the desk just said, what was I wearing? And I gave her a bottle of it. And she said it was the most beautiful thing she'd ever smelled.
Yeah.
And things like that can turn your head.
Oh yeah, this is really interesting. And nice.
And I brought some old formula books, so I don't think it goes back that far. I mean, they've got it somewhere. But...
Oh, wow.
It's very... So, I fell in love with the Popanax. In that you smell it and you go... What is this? No, I don't like that. Then you go, I think I do like it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you can smell lots of resins going on here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it smells like a...
citrus fruits.
It smells like a wood-lined tea shop. It smells like, you know those old tea shops you get where it's got all like... There's the one in Richmond. Do you know that tea shop in Richmond? It's all...
No, but
wooden
I'll go
cabinets.
there now.
It's all wooden cabinets and loose leaf teas from all over the world.
There's one just near the Beaumont Hotel that I go and work at sometimes.
Yeah, but it's lovely. It's like...
Oh, that's a coffee shop.
It's a bit spicy and it's a bit citrusy and it's a bit woody.
I can smell the geranium now.
Yeah.
I can think of it. It's got rose geranium in it. And of course, shed loads of bergamot.
Yeah.
Falls. So that was it. That's the first thing I made, and one of my perfumer friends at the time said she thought it might make a decent candle. So I thought that'll do.
Yeah.
So that and Tokyo Spring Blossom sort of developed out of that. So, but then 2011, I know. Tokyo Spring Blossom was made for that, although that wasn't its name. It was called...
Urawa's Tokyo Cafe.
Well, you know that,
yeah.
But most people couldn't pronounce it. Even I don't get Urara right, because Urara had a cafe in Tokyo, and try to keep the story short, but it doesn't happen, does it? We were applying for Olympic tickets, because for the 2012 Olympics, Nick put in some applications for tickets. And I found out afterwards, well, I found out before we got the results of it, that he'd applied for 1,500 quid's worth of tickets. On the assumption that you wouldn't get them all.
Mm.
And what actually happened was we got none. Not a single one, not one of our tickets came through. And then the tsunami happened in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
And we thought, well, we're not spending any money on Olympics tickets. Let's take the money that we didn't have, that we wouldn't spend, and go to Japan and give them some support. Because like, flights were cancelled, all kinds of things, nothing was happening. And my friend, Urara Shinaki, was organising a charity event to raise money for tsunami orphans.
Yeah.
At her cafe, the Green Ginger Cafe in Tokyo. So I tried to make a green ginger fragrance for the event because she was having a perfume party, and we went. But you put ginger in things, I found out, it's very difficult not to make them smell soapy. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like it. We've still got it as an air freshener because I don't like waste. So I put together something different and it became Urara's Tokyo Cafe. But people had a vision of what a Tokyo Cafe would be like, and it wasn't like Urara's was.
No.
They were thinking it was going to be so smoky and dark. So it actually got renamed Tokyo Spring Blossom for Fortnum and Mason, because they said it smells nice, but what's the name? And it's an awful long story to try and explain.
Yeah, yeah.
Plus, it turns out later that Urara means the breeze through the spring blossom. She told me that. So
wow.
I don't mind. I'm renaming your perfume. She said, no, it's perfect because that's what my name means.
Wow, that's good.
I also found out what Sarah means in Japanese.
What is it? What?
A dish.
Oh, just a dish?
Yeah, my name's Sarah. It's just Miss Dish. I'm a dish. No one is called Sarah in Japan because it's just a dish. It's not all through the spring blossom or anything exciting. But yeah, so Tokyo Spring Blossom I sort of made for myself. Mm-hmm. But that is the way. This is the way. The way I tend to set up businesses is I do stuff for myself, and then other people want it, and then off we go.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was definitely 2011 though, because that was the year that I went to Japan. I did, what I did on my holidays was 2011. Because that is, as I was saying, that's in this book, that is Jessica's fragrance to remind her of when she went on her holidays. And in the old days, we first started off, do you remember these?
Yeah. The first testers that I bought off you. The chemistry bottles. Yeah, bungs in the top.
Yeah, it's quite tricky to get them out. So they weren't the most marvellous, but try it. Where'd you get bottles from? That's before I discovered. And then we had these, which are made by Barrelan, and we used these for Rome 1963, New York 55, London 1969, Paris 1948. So that was 2013, because that's before we moved into the building. Everything changed when we moved into the building. But I found out, so these are made by Barrelan, but I bought them from California. I didn't like the idea of them being shipped all the way over the Atlantic once and then coming back, so I went direct to Barrelan, and we got those.
Oh, I remember those. Yeah.
Got those.
Yeah.
Teslas used to be in those.
Yeah.
And then we had some printed, but in order to get them printed, I had to buy like 4,000 or something.
Yeah.
So all these.
I remember those.
Yeah. So I thought, oh yeah, and the tins. It's got the old address on, but we got the tins. I'm talking about packaging now instead of perfume, aren't I? Everything I said But
Folks
Yeah.
at Liberty would like the conversation.
yes, Liberty didn't like the tins. But this, so that
Yeah, I remember doing that.
down memory lane.
Yeah, I remember doing them like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I completely forgot we did
So
them
we
like
had the little sets, and some of these we probably can't get the lid off because Aisha used to put them on. Oh,
What's
so
the millage? They 5 mil or something?
4. They took
4 mil.
They took 4. I think it's supposed to be 2.5, but they actually take 4. So, yeah, Rome 1963 is in here, and that was one which we made. I think it was the second day after we'd moved into the studio. We got a call from Peroni's ad agency, Saatchi, and we were asked if we could make this fragrance to commemorate Peroni's 50th birthday, which was 2013, it was 1963. And we said, yes, okay. And then they sent over a stylist, Silvia Bergomi. That's got ink on the bottom of it. It still smells the same. It's somebody... Damn it, somebody's put my scent strips into the pen thing. It's got ink on it. Oh. Never mind, you can have the one without ink on. So Rome 1963 came about because Sylvia turned up. Well, I was having this conversation about how we were going to run this project, me making this perfume to commemorate this event. It was for when the Peroni had the House of Italian Style, the greatest experience, and
It's done well that for like.
yeah, it's quite.
It just gets better and better with age. That
batch 1 as well. Oh no, it's
Yeah.
batch number 3. I lie.
batch 3. I mean, it just gets better and better and better every year.
It does. So, but I wouldn't have made this by myself probably. I would have continued to make fruity floral chypres for the rest of my life and nothing else. And so Sylvia was dropped in. We were having this long conversation about exactly how this worked, and suddenly someone from the agency said, "Do you look Italian at all?" And I went, "Yeah, sort of. Some days, I've got time." I've walked into coffee shops and had people say ciao to me because they think, I'll take. So then I went and looked up my heritage to see if there's any Italian in it. So I was like, nothing. Although my grandmother was called Tilly Dilly, so I think maybe that's...
Tilly Dilly?
Tilly Dilly.
Wow, that's a good name.
Matilda Dilly. I like to think that that's Italian. Because she was born in Bermondsey.
I always wanted I'm a bit of, obviously, as you know, like you, a bit of a francophile. Always desperately wanted to be a bit French. Then I found out that one of my relatives, a few generations back, was a French professor. But we don't know if he was a French man who was a professor or someone who taught French. So yeah. I'd like to believe that he was a French professor, not a French professor.
Yeah,
there we go.
And then we can all believe that. Perhaps, possibly, but I did then find out that my gran was born in Bermondsey. I hadn't known that before.
Wow.
So.
Anyway, so
Harry calls it
Bermondsey, while I'm on my way to Luga Baruga, which is Loughborough, or Wimberley Don. Anyway, do you look a bit Italian?
They said, "Do you look a bit Italian?" I went, "Yeah." Anyway, they decided they thought it was actually better to have an Italian stylist work with me to make sure that this had some authentic Italianness to it.
Right.
So Sylvia turned up, and she was about a foot taller than me and a foot thinner, and I was prepared to be intimidated, but she walked in and she said, "This is a dream come true." And I thought, we're going to get on fine. But she said she liked Lang Lang, so great, and cedarwood, great, and tuberose, she said. And I had 1 gram of tuberose absolute that had cost me 50 quid, so we used all that up. So this has got a recreation in it, but I wouldn't have made a white flower fragrance for myself probably, but this is, and it has tobacco as well, so it's a scene from the Fellini film Giulietta degli Spiriti,
yeah,
in which they are in a treehouse in a forest, So it's dry pine needles and the Susie, who's up there seducing young men who drive up in a sports car. She smokes, and she was obviously the kind of person who would cover herself in white flower fragrances, and that's what Sylvia wanted, and that's what she got.
Yeah, I'm only just now realising that this has got buckets of Lang Lang in it. I hadn't noticed that. I love Lang Lang. Is it a flower?
It is a flower. It's a big flower. It's known as the scent of tranquility or something. It's very calming. Yeah. It's put on, strewn over the pillows of marriage beds to it's a like muscle relaxant and all kinds of interesting things like that.
Wow, it's lovely.
So yeah, and some people just cannot bear it. It's too medicinal for some people. It depends what you put with it.
Yeah, certainly.
But this is the thing. The big thing about perfumery, if you just smell it by itself, don't dismiss it.
Yeah.
You might find something, a little bit of something you don't like, can make a perfume so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so that happened. And when we did Rome 1963, then I decided it'd be a nice idea to do Paris in 1948 as a kind of homage to the big Chypre's driest of dry around that time. And then I did New York 55 because I was thinking about the whole exuberance of the American dream and all the excitement and posh new kitchens and
candy floss.
Rock and roll, and yes, it was an ice cream.
Greece.
Yes.
I always think of Greece
parlour,
when I smell New York 55.
Which you can now, which is...
Here we go.
Having cracked these ones open.
I might burst into a beauty school dropout.
And I'll go, ooh, Greece land. Yeah. There you are.
Thank you.
Ooh, it's the Raspberry Leaf Absolute that leaps out at me.
Yeah.
Because, I discovered Raspberry Leaf Absolute. I didn't realise that most people didn't use it. In fact, I once got big fingers pointed at me for like typical people like you using things that are for the flavour industry, but actually he was wrong, despite his position. It's used in very fine fragrance, Raspberry Leaf Absolute.
And this is a very fine fragrance.
Thank you. I'm very fond of it. I mean, it's quite sweet. This is the one that got 5 stars in the Stylist Best Beauty Awards when Baccarat Rouge 540 only got 4. But it didn't win. It still came second. But I don't mind. I do. I don't. No. Okay, this book starts in 2015. So this is when that's when we made Paris. 2014, I mean 2014. So let's make a draw. Yeah. And the beginning of Babylon Sunset, which was originally called...
Says Alice.
Thank you. Oh, he's good.
I've got mastermind.
Yeah, the Perfumes of 4160 Tuesdays.
Yeah.
So, do you remember those bottles?
No, I never. No, that predates me. They do.
You shouldn't have done because this is 24.
I don't remember those labels. Okay. I mean, I recognise them. I've seen them around, but I've never used those.
Okay, good.
In my time as a dog's body.
It was Says Alice because I made it. So this was another.
My cousin Alice was very upset when you renamed it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, Nick's cousin Alice, I made it for. She didn't mind too much, but this was another one that was renamed for Fortnum Mason because I said, well, if I started again, I would call this. Think it's all the flowers that grew in the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. We'll call it. It was Sunset over Babylon, and then we called it Babylon Sunset. But it's a bit expensive to make.
It's really nice.
Yeah. It's a really interesting film. No.
Yeah, we just sat here sniffing things.
Like, it could be worse. Could be
I'd
worse.
wear that.
Could be a podcast. I'm glad. It's funny because it's got jasmine in it. It's got rose absolute. It's got sandalwood. It's really spectacularly luxurious. But I think because it's not as out there, it's more in the general curve of where perfumes sit from crazy to mainstream to crazy. Babylon Sunset is more in the middle. It's just made with extraordinarily expensive things. So it's not one of ours which stands out miles because there are other things that it smells more like a perfume than a bonkers creation, which is fine.
Yeah. It's very nice.
Thank you. But I don't have any at the moment because I couldn't afford to sell it for the price that it's at, so I just stopped making it. So what I'm going to have to do, unfortunately, is remake it and sell it for more if anyone wants it.
Do a small batch.
Yeah, small batches and small bottles. So slowly through. Oh yeah, Centerpiece. Talk about that one. I mean, Centerpiece. I made that when. So it's a chap I met, in fact, in Fortnum & Mason, who was working for another brand at the time. He's called Mo, and he brought another of his friends round once, and they turned out to know Nick's cousins in Dubai. So
wow,
it's a big world, but there are lots of people in it, and some of us all know each other. It's not a small world. Centerpiece. What happened was Mo. He was just smelling lots of things, and then he said, "Will you make? You could use all of these. How about using all of those?" And because I was creating one for Fortnum & Mason at the time, and he worked in Fortnum & Mason, and the things that he picked, it's like, it ended up smelling like, their ice cream parlour, which is, I like very much. So, yeah. It's not here. You know what it smells like. But yes, I use my Mr. Fixer base, which is Galaxolide Musk, Bergamot, Vanillin and Hedione. Then we put in Cedramber and Patchouli and Virginian cedarwood. And coumarin, which is quite,
I love coumarin.
Yes, that's quite almondy. Frangipani extract that I got from people who grow it up the Andes Mountains in Colombia. And then I used this, this honey, and I was trying to make Jean-Claude Eleanor's chocolate blend with vanillin and isobutyl phenyl acetate. But I got honey nut cornflakes instead, so we used that. Yeah. Oh yeah, then we did what Katie did on Friday night.
Oh yeah. Have you got that? It'll appear.
I have, because it's in this. Because that then turned into Fruits of the Tree of Knowledge.
Oh yeah. Oh right,
Which I'm going to have to remake as well because we're out of that. And I start smelling these things and I think, I like them. But that one was for Nick's work colleague, Katie. And we had an experience with that one when I said, what kind of things do you like? And she said, I like them to be fresh and natural. Eventually, what she liked best, I had held up a combination of sandalwood, which is a synthetic sandalwood.
Yeah.
Cucumber aldehyde and raspberry ketone. 3 lovely synthetics, and I sort of put those together and said, what do you think about this? And she said, oh, that's so fresh and natural. It's like, it's very fresh.
But
it smells very natural, but it is totally synthetic. Because in order sometimes to get the fresh natural smell, it's got a real citrus punch, this, isn't it? Yeah. No, don't. It's real fruit salad. Yeah. Almost like refreshers
Yeah.
to choose.
Yes, it is.
Oh, trip down memory lane, I'm really enjoying it. Yes, okay, I'm going to have to make some more of that. Oh, then we have Elin Green popped up from 2014, and that was my friend Angela, Perfume Pal, asked me if I would do a little event to raise money for her cancer charity. And so this was Midsummer Night's Eve, so it would be almost exactly,
Almost to the day.
yeah.
Yeah.
Did I not do it? No. Oh, I think I revised it I finalised it in I think I did it in 2013. So that was the famous one where I passed round the Rose Absolute, and someone who considered herself to be quite an expert in perfumery said, "Is it tar?" That's Rose Absolute. But yeah, so I was trying to capture the smell of a Midsummer Night's Eve in Ealing.
Yeah.
So we used all the things mentioned that I had in A Midsummer Night's Dream, which I know not your favourite play, but
It's up there.
is it all right? That's all right then.
Just never done right. It's a horror play. It's horrifically scary and gross and awful, and everyone does it like.
I was Hermia at school.
Were you?
Yeah. I was covered in bruises. I kept getting pushed to the floor.
It's full of fighting.
There was a lot of fighting.
There's that scene where we won't get into it. Is it Demetrius forces himself on her? It's like, and it's always done in a very comedic way, and it's actually
Not very
gross.
funny.
When you
Yeah.
look at it, it's really gross, and so.
Yeah, because they're all magically, accidentally falling in love with the wrong person.
Yeah.
And like,
And also in the context of the time, fairies
Yeah.
were like terrifying. It was
Even
terrifying. I just want someone to do Midsummer Night's Dream, you know, in a really dark way. Not steampunk, I mean actually dark.
You do it.
Yeah. Do it in Ealing.
Yeah. Put it on as a theatre. So I made Elin Green.
Yeah.
And it's not very dark.
It's not, it's extremely green.
But it does have a very dark dry down the bottom of it there.
I think it's the only fragrance that I've never worn, actually.
I can
Of
wear
yours.
it two or 3 days a year,
Yeah.
and it has to be excruciatingly scorchio out there.
Right, yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't suit me. It's I think it's the time and the cysteine. It smells very aldehydic, although I didn't add aldehydes. It's got that sort of shiny brightness that doesn't generally appeal to me in a fragrance. But then I'm really glad I made it.
Yeah.
So, because it exists. But then, if you only make things that you want to make, then you don't challenge yourself. Oh, there's
Yeah.
oh, here we go. This is Enter the Arthur.
Oh,
Here's
right,
the
yeah.
rehearsal room. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you turned up.
Oh, run us through what's in it.
Well, okay. Habanalide and Fixolide, there were 2 musks that I used. Cysteine hexanol.
Smells like cut
cacao
grass.
Smell. Virginian cedarwood. Hydroxy Benzaldehyde, which is something I got from Pell Wall because, you see, this is what happened. When I decided to go for this, I went to Adam at Hermitage, who's now moved to Italy, which is better for him, but not so much for the rest of us. Bought lots of naturals from him.
Yeah.
And then Chris at Pell Wall, I bought lots of interesting synthetics from him, and I just read the descriptions and thought, I'll try them.
Yeah.
But also I'd been on a course with Karen Gilbert, who runs extremely good courses, did then and does now. And partly just to get in the room so I could smell all the things.
Yeah.
So I did a first course with her, and then she invited me back to another one to be there. And so I smelled, but I'd already launched some fragrances by then, but I needed to smell some more things.
Yeah.
So the hydroxy benzaldehyde is a kind of brownish powder that I would find very difficult to describe now. It's sort of weirdly woody, almondy, leathery thing. Tobacco Absolute, Isoe Super, isobutyl quinoline, which is the another leathery smell, Atlas cedarwood, and a bit of frankincense. That was your...
Yeah, we should probably say what it was, wasn't it?
It was.
I turned up and said, "Could you make a perfume, please?"
Well, there was the first one, which was Men Intense, which was frangipani and sandalwood. That was your very first one. You wanted...
Yeah, the smell of Nag Champa.
Yeah. So we looked it up and we did that. Yeah, that wasn't the cheapest thing we ever made. just frangipani and sandalwood. Then we did Rehearsal Room, which is the smell of the Royal Shakespeare Company's rehearsal room.
In Clapham.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you had just come back from your world tour of Dunsinane.
I had indeed, yeah.
See? I've got them.
It's good that is, but yeah.
And then we made In the Wings, which was the rehearsal room with extra added nervousness while standing there waiting to go on stage, which is actually not probably as pleasant a fragrance.
No, it's not, but standing in the wings before you're going on is not as pleasant an experience as rehearsing it.
Exactly. But I thought I'd remake Rehearsal Room.
Yeah, I, as I said, I think I've completely run out of it. I haven't smelt it for yonks.
We'll make it. Then we have Event for the New Craftsman. Red Church. Yeah.
Red Church.
Which I made for Handsome London.
I think that is one of my favourite of your perfumes because it's so off the wall, but it's like it is really comfortably off the wall. It's like when I wear it, I feel just great. I love it. I really love it.
Oh, we still got some left over, but
it's just great.
And I mean,
lashings of cumin and stuff, isn't it? Is there? No, don't tell me there isn't.
No.
Wow, interesting.
No, it's cardamom.
Ah, okay, right, yeah.
Because it's Red Church Street, and they sort of wanted the smell of Dishoom's Indian restaurant wafting around the corner.
Yeah.
There were so there's fructone because there's a polished apple stall. You know, posh apples that are polished so they cost lots of money. There's a bit of like greenery wafting down from the square that has the church in it where Rev was filmed.
Yeah.
And what else? A bit of tobacco and some cedarwood, with Atlas that smells a bit animalic because it's sort of Red Church Street on a Sunday morning. It's still recovering from Saturday night. Yes, for the Handsome London.
So good.
Yeah, it's a typical case. These lovely guys set up. They were on their runway still, referring to last week's film.
Yeah.
They were still in jobs. Sensible idea.
Yeah.
Took a long time of perfecting the box. It was very lovely.
It's a lovely box.
Yes.
I will not hear a bad word said about the box.
Beautiful board box.
Yeah.
And perfecting the perfume. And they'd gone and seen lots of shops, and the shops had all said to them, "Oh yeah, we'll definitely stock it when you're making it. It's lovely." And then they made it and went back to shops and went, "No, well, we don't actually have any space at the moment."
Mm-hmm.
That is so typical.
Yeah.
So it sort of didn't really ever take off, and it's such a shame.
It's a real shame.
Yeah.
They were nice, those two.
Yeah. We all went out to the Spiritland cafe that evening with Paul Noble from Spiritland. And in fact, just here is Laurel Canyon as well that I made for Spiritland.
Another great fragrance.
7 years ago.
Wow. Doesn't feel like it, does it?
That's the one that Jarvis Cocker had a bottle of.
Yeah.
And he said it helped him sleep at night.
Wow.
Yeah. I think
great.
I said that out loud for the first time. But and then we did The Crimes of Passion.
Yeah.
2015.
That was an era, that.
That was an era, yeah. 7 fragrances. And they came about because my friend Guy de la Bedouillère from college, we just sort of... there was a thing about me in my college magazine, and he emailed, and we were talking, and he said that he'd once followed a woman round the British Museum because her perfume was so wonderful. And he was 17 One, he was in the British Museum when he was 70. It's not a usual sort of lad. You might have seen him on Time Team. You know,
Right,
turned out
yeah.
archaeologist. But yeah, so Guy was, he was my next door neighbour at college, and we were in the same band, his band. But there you go. And he said that he walked up to this woman and asked her what she was wearing. It was Revlon Moondrops. So then I thought, well, I'm going to have to buy one. And then Guy and I found we were trying to outbid each other on eBay for the same bottle. So we had to stop, so we buy one each. And I just thought, you know, what would make somebody do that? You know, the kind of perfume that make you do really strange, out of character things.
Yeah.
And so that's where I came up with Inevitable Crimes of Passion, because
Yeah.
you smell this, you're just going to do something ridiculous. And so I made that. And I made Be Careful What You Wish For, because people kept saying to me, oh, I'd love to know what you do with a nude. You should make a nude. You should make a nude. And I kept saying, and I thought, all right, I'm going to make a blinky nude and we'll call it Be Careful What You Wish For.
I didn't know that was a nude fragrance.
Exactly. That's the whole point of it. Nobody can smell the oud in it. It's just basically fruit. It's a fruit salad that actually has...
I've come to
oud in there.
realise, though, that the majority of oud fragrances is actually rose.
Oh, a lot of them...
That oud smell that I recognise.
From people wearing it in the
Yeah, so obviously a few videos back saying I don't like rose. And actually I really like those sort of oud things.
Yeah.
And it's mostly rose.
You want the Aramis Calligraphy Rose, which we've got here somewhere.
It's not on those shelves.
Well, it can still be... It's down there. I can see it.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I'm coming back. I'm going to get it. I'm going to say... Because this is... As long... It's running out. Because it got discontinued, which they didn't give it long enough, as we said last week. But that... You want a rose oud. It's really lovely.
I'm
yes,
going to whiff that after this.
Yeah.
Along with Revlon Moondrops.
Yeah,
got some.
in the cupboard somewhere. So yeah, all of these in here somewhere are there.
Yeah, the Inevitable Crimes of Passion contain two of my... I'm aware that I'm just sitting here just saying that everything's my favourite, but there are two of those. The Maxed Out and Midnight in the Palace Garden are just...
Yes, it's the set.
I've used hundreds of millilitres of those things.
Dirty Honey was one of them.
Yeah.
Which is the smell of Mexican mock orange, which to me smelt as if it had... it's like honey which had fallen on the ground, got covered in mud and got scraped back up again. So that's what I meant by Dirty Honey. Yeah. So, some people had assumed I meant things which are really nothing to do with actual honey that had got a bit muddy. I said, oh, did you mean this? Like, no, I didn't mean that. That happened. Yeah, so Midnight in the Palace Garden.
Wow.
Thank you.
What a thing.
So I made that in my planets. They're different structures. There's a woods one, and then there was a white flowers one. Then there was a sweet fruits of temptation. I got really carried away. Blood orange and honey absolute nirvana. And then a coffee, a poppinax, vanilla, labdanum, rose geranium sweetness, like the kind of rose pastries. That, yeah. So yeah, I'm fond of that.
It's one of those fragrances that smells like it's always existed since the dawn of time. It's like you can't imagine it never having not existed. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I suppose what I mean is it's completely timeless. It just is a...
Good. I think it's... I don't know. I'm very fond of it. Harry was compounding it once, and he finished it, and he said, "Where's the hedione?" And there isn't any hedione in it. I didn't put any hedione in it. He said, "Well, I kept thinking that at some point it was going to get to the hedione." It's not how I made it. It's not what's in there. And then of course the final one of the 7, I wanted to make 7, but I was short of a thing. Was Maxed Out, because then Maximilian Huesler of Maximilian Knows of Vlog, he said if he ever had a bespoke fragrance made, it would be the smell of his former job, which was selling slightly illegal things to his, but only the finest quality, and only to his friends, in New York, and then going for a completely wild night. And
this is like I wear this probably once a week.
and this is,
I love it.
one. So this is, I did eventually take a little bit of the cumin out. I think is our friend Tanya Anarchy. She said, she loves wearing it, but she won't wear it out now. I mean, Nick can wear it and it goes nice and soft and gentle and woods on his skin. But because of the cumin can smell a bit sweaty, and it was supposed to smell a bit like, the Walk of Triumph. Max said he wanted marijuana cigars, buckets of rum cocktails, ladies, and coffee and regret. So that we put all that together, and that Lucky Scent ordered 45 bottles from me before it was even ready. And for me, that's so many bottles of perfume.
And also, all of those things it all blends together to make something that's like positively pleasant. And
Max, when he got it, because I sent him like one version, he said, here it is, and he said it was absolutely right, and it smelled just like his Ferragamo jacket 2003. It was stolen, it reminded me of it. So.
Salvatore Ferragamo.
Yeah. But I first met Max, actually, the Sexiest Scent on the Planet story, so this is 2013, working with, this is an event with the Gin Garden, lovely Joe, and this was to experience the aromas of the botanicals used in gin for Bombay Sapphire. And a lot of those things they're just far too strong to be put on the skin. So they all had to be diluted down to like safe levels. And they said, can we mix them all together and put them on the skin? I'm like, no. So I made a base for them that was going to be nice and safe, that then they could add drops of the diluted botanicals to, so that people could then wear them if they must. And because it's it's bespoke, and we're talking to them, and they all have to say they're not allergic to stuff, because careful, because PR comes and says, "Go, can you just make us a perfume? Do it next week." Like, no, not legal. But anyway, we worked our way around this, and we made this base, and just out of 4 things, quite simply, just to sort of go with and ease off the gin botanicals, and then, as the myth says, several people asked if they could just have the base. It's all about the base, without the other things, and this is, of course, the Sexiest Scent on the Planet at IMHO, which is a joke. And I do get questions, do you really think this is the sexiest scent ever made? No, I don't even think it's the sexiest one I've made, but that's its name.
Yeah.
And I'm going to swear now, because I'm going to quote Max.
Yeah.
Because the film that he made, when he smelt a sample of this, he said, I got a scent here. I mean, bad New York man's accent. I got a scent here from Sarah McCartney. And it's got the sexiest scent on the planet. Fuck me, this is sexy! Like, ooh, okay, that's nice. So, it's like, anyway, that happened. And that was interesting, because this one is, now I've published the formula. It's made out of 4 things.
Yeah.
It's made out of cedramber, isoe super, bergamot, and vanillin. And it got reviewed by someone who wrote, it's got musk in it. I can smell the musk. And I said, well, I thought she would be interested in knowing, silly me, what it was really made of. And I said, actually, it's made of this, this. And she said, I don't believe you. And I said, one of the reasons I published the recipe is that so everyone can try it and find out that it's exactly the same as I said it was, because I didn't sleep for a couple of days after that event. Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah. So it's made from 4 things. So it's, as some people consider it to be an accord rather than a finished fragrance. And I think that's probably not incorrect. I think some of my fragrances are full. And if somebody says, could we layer it without, or could we add this to it? The answer is no, you can't, it's full.
Yeah.
But then it's a bit like cooking. It's like, can I have that with it? And the answer might be, oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
You can have some spinach. Yes, absolutely you can. Can we have chips? Yes. And so this one, can I have whatever you want with it pretty much? It still works.
Yeah.
But if you were to say something like, could you have something with both sides of clouds? My answer is no, don't mess with it. It's full. It's that. I'm still on book 1. I've got another. We're not going to do them all.
This might end up being 3 films.
It's a 3-film series. Wire. 6th of March 2015. Wire 1, Wire 2, and Wire 3. I've absolutely no idea what that was about.
Oh.
Patchouli, ambroxan, and isoe super. No clue. Don't even remember. Don't have it maxed out. Raw silk and red roses. Oh yeah, I thought, I'm going to prove I can make a rose fragrance. So I did. And I'm fond of that. Be careful what you wish for. These are all the final, like, neatly set out versions. Because, Goddess of Love and Perfume, that was for me. I actually made that one just
Wasn't that
for me.
another Inevitable Crime of Passion?
It was.
Yeah.
I'm still
you're
going
still in
through the
that
final versions of these. Because I wanted to call it Roseberry topping, but somebody else has made Roseberry. My heroes at, I've forgotten. Oh, it's very peachy. Yes, les Parfums de Rosine have one called Roseberry, which has got raspberry leaf absolute in it. You can tell from the colour and the smell. But Roseberry topping is a hill in the North York Moors, just outside Middlesbrough. We go there for picnics. And I wanted to make a fragrance that Aphrodite would wear.
Sorry, I just knocked the camera. Yeah, I got my foot stuck.
Okay.
Get my back on.
Got his foot stuck.
Sorry.
It's not a problem. Like we said, this is reality, not whatever.
Oh dear, I just knocked it again. Sorry. Sorry, everybody.
I'll just smell this, it's lovely.
There you go.
I just said that out loud by accident. It's so creamy. I was sort of inspired a little bit by Chantilly, which should be pronounced Chantilly because by the time it was made, Houbigant had moved to New York. And it's like Chantilly lace, all that stuff, but it's Chantilly the Chateau. I wanted to get not the smell because that's wrong, but the feel, the creamy, musky, fruity feel of Chantilly from 1948, not the version there is now. But I wanted it to be the perfume that Aphrodite would wear if she came down to the North York moors to seduce shepherd lads. Specifically that. I had that in mind. I used the Robert apricot liquid in this, early days, and oh yeah, and then the blackcurrant nat pop and the wild strawberry nat pop from Manfis to get the, I mean it's so fruity, and it's got cheaper, so it's I've got oak moss, it's like oak moss, bergamot plus extra oak moss. It's fine, it's still under the legal limits. Peach CO2 extract from Evonik at first, had to replace that. Yuzu essential oil, that's nice and expensive. Cocoa Absolute, a Popanax, blackcurrant bud Absolute, and then some shed loads of musk. Omega pentadegalactone and ethylene brassylate to be precise. That's what I had at the time. It's fun. These days I probably put some expensive ones in as well. But I didn't have any then. Yeah, so we got as far as 2015, The Ghost of Water for my friend. Some more Peroni events. So I made some more perfume for them. Yeah, I went back there 2 years later. The ones I made 2015 for the Handel Oratorio.
Oh yeah.
Foreboding.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Were-Rabbit, the fluffiest bunny ever. The fluffiest bunny ever was a base made from fixolide, ethylene brassylate, galaxolide and romantolide musks. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of things in here which didn't ever see the light of day. Oh, Professor Barry's Christmas pudding. Do you know what that became?
The Christmassy one.
Yeah,
No,
Captured by Candlelight, the Christmassy one.
That's right, yeah.
Because I got a telephone call from Professor Barry Smith, who said, "Now, I'm on television tomorrow morning. Can you make me the smell of Christmas pudding?" Going, "Yeah, all right." But it was a guest. We had people round. We had people. It was the December open day. And we've got people sitting there, and I said, "Oh, sorry, I'm just going to make the smell of Christmas pudding." So they just watched me, and they went, "It smells like Christmas pudding, yeah." And then his assistant turned up and took it in, and then Gabby Rosling smelled it the next morning on television, and Barry was trying to say this was made by, and they kept interrupting him because if it was a chef who'd made a dish, they would allow that. If it was an artist who'd painted a picture, they'd made that. But you can't mention which perfumer made it because that's commercial. It's weird, isn't it? So he never managed to say my name, but he very kindly kept saying, "Well, this was..." And they cut him off. But the good thing is that it turned into Captured by Candlelight, which has its own story, and then that was the next year's crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the smell of Christmas pudding. Oh, I used the New York base that I'd used for New York, which is, I'll look it up, my red fruits base. Ethyl maltol, so it's a tiny little bit of the candy floss thing in there. Hazelnut CO2 extract, cinnamon berry, green cognac, tangerine, vanillin, strawberry furanone, raspberry ketone, oakwood CO2 extract, Apoponax. That was the beginnings of it.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we got very distracted making the Scent of Speyside for...
Yes.
End of it?
Yes.
Yeah. Underhill from the UX. Oh, the whole Damn Rebel Bitches.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there were many, 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 many variations. But I made one I liked so much that I was pretty sure that Sarah Sheridan, who was running the company with her daughter Molly Sheridan, I thought they'd absolutely love it. So I started the stability test, I got it all going, and then they came down and said, "Oh no, that's not right." I thought, well, I'm having that myself, and that was Mother Nature's Naughty Daughters.
Mm-hmm. Which is
more hazelnut CO2, I'm getting into that. Broom Absolute. Because it was, the reason it was naughty is because it was things which were really close. I took things right up to their IFRA limits. Naturals, which are, we have to be careful with. So, broom, rose. Then maltol, because it also had to be things which people could eat. It was kind of a harvest fragrance. Vanillin, atlas cedarwood, black pine, raspberry ketone, ambretolide, ambrox. Dorinio, which is a rose base. See past films. Cedar amber. Ambergris tincture. Some natural pear, which is one of those Frankenstein's monster naturals made up of... No, he wasn't a monster. Frankenstein's person. It's a natural, but it's not made of the thing. It's made up of other parts of naturals to create a pear. Cedar moss, which is restricted. Wild strawberry and hedione. Hedione turns up in it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're as far as 2016, so that's actually halfway.
Wow.
Isn't it? That's 5 years. 5 years worth of...
That's a real history, that. And
we've skipped over quite a few. Or we've just come to macaque, which we made
Yeah.
for Victor, for zoologist,
Yeah.
which has been discontinued because it was just too wild.
It was pretty out there. Macaque was.
You should smell this page. I think I spilt some on it. No, I think... Smell. The formulas do exist in other places, owing to the fact that things like that happen. Also,
yes, that...
Harry Sherwood was here. Right.
Yeah, that was that's one of the most out there things I think you've made.
Yeah,
macaque.
I think it is. Although I think Max put in.
They're all pretty out there. Like the zoologist, I think that's kind of the point, isn't it?
Well, they were, but now they're not anymore because Victor realised that the out there ones, people would smell them and they'd go and travel and smell it, see what it was like, but they didn't want to wear it. Mm-hmm. So some of zoologists, including this one, are like the albums that you keep on your shelf, and sometimes you get to like 2 a.m. and one of your mates around, you go, I know, well listen to this one, and you get out, I know, Bill Buford's late 70s jazz rock combo, 17-hour sessions, and you're like, oh, okay. But you have to be ready for them, and they're not everyday things.
No.
Some of those, and so it's a real, a galbanum bomb.
I made a really big mistake with the zoologist ones of smelling them when for the first time I smelt them, I had food poisoning. And so now I've learned a really important lesson, which is never smell a perfume for the first time when you are feeling really ill, because it will always remind you of being ill.
Yep, and that. But this is how people think that perfumes give them headaches,
Yeah.
Because the brain just goes, oh yeah, headache, I remember that.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is. So, and you can't stop it because the brain is smarter than we are sometimes. It's very difficult to talk your brain out of doing that to you. Like my dad in the mirrors.
What's that?
My dad used to get an instant migraine from seeing his reflection unexpectedly. And
there's something going on there, isn't there?
There's definitely something going on. But obviously you have to adjust. If you see something in a mirror, to focus on it, it's not where you expect it to be focused, it's twice as far.
Twice as far, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that thing would switch, whatever it was that made you instant focus goes, oh, it's a mirror, it's not a wall. That would go bang, give him migraine. So, well, did the mirror give my dad a migraine? Maybe, maybe not. So, Sunderland, Marks and Spencer's used to have mirrors on the pillars. And he would have to get to the food department, he'd have to walk straight back down, not look to the sides, because he knew, and straight back out again.
Wow.
And so if he knew it was there, it was fine. Like, approaching his own wardrobe.
Yeah.
Point being, though, that your brain will do that if, you happen not to like Joy or something,
Even if you know it's coming, it will still do it.
I mean, the old Joy that's been discontinued, not the new one, dear. But something like heavy tuberose thing, you think, oh, I can't stand that because it gives me a headache. It'll be because your great aunt Nellie used to wear it and come round and ruin your afternoon, make you be polite.
Mm-hmm.
And so forever your head goes, oh, hate this, headache. And you can't stop it any more than my dad could stop getting migraines if he saw his reflection unexpectedly in a mirror. And you can't smell the zoologists. Except the new ones, you'll be able to smell the new ones, you'll be fine because they won't have that memory.
Right, my camera's about to stop recording now. We're at an hour.
We can stop. An hour?
Yeah.
I mean, oh dear.
I think we're coming up to an hour. So should we put a bookmark in there and start post macaque
next week?
Next week.
Yeah, we're up to Mrs. Glossop.
We could even do something. Obviously, tomorrow afternoon we're seeing Harry. We could do a special edition.
Things
with
that
Harry.
we've worked on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you want to go on, I mean, we can make this longer than an hour.
No, I think we better not.
Yeah.
No, nobody's got more than an hour. We'll stop.
Yeah.
We're up to Buddhawood Box. I'll put a thing.
Oh
in.
yeah, Buddhawood Box.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, I remember those. This period of time was very. Yeah, you were
Up the apples and pears.
up the apples and pears,
Ooh,
wild,
Transit
flora psychedelica.
Yeah, but then
We're carrying on, right? No, let's. Otherwise, we won't stop.
no, it's just Brexit ruined everything.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That,
Do you want that to be a
end on
last?
that.
Sure.
And yeah, and that Brexit ruined everything.
Okay.